let's go live to Canberra now. Joining us is the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers. You've always talked about being upfront, Treasurer. So why did you repeatedly lie to the Australian public?
Well, I think, Pete, being upfront is explaining to your viewers when we've come to a different view for the right reasons. We've come to a different view about these stage 3 tax cuts because we found a better way to provide more relief to more people dealing with these cost of living pressures. And what we're proposing today is better for Middle Australia, better for cost of living, better for women and workforce participation, better for nurses and truckies and teachers, and better for the economy. So we've come to a different view because we've found a better way to provide the same amount of tax relief to people doing it tough. And we're explaining today why we've come to that different position.
Why now, though? The war and the cost of living measures, or pressures, I should say, they're not new. So why not take this to the last election? Why not last year?
Well, I mean, first of all, you're right to point to there's been a lot happened since these tax changes were legislated by Scott Morrison 5 years ago. But I think these cost of living pressures are obviously sustained and persistent. And it became increasingly clear to us in recent times that we can still provide cost of living relief via the tax system. We can still return bracket creep, and these are the things that we have been supportive of all along. But we found a better way to do it. And this means bigger tax cuts for more people to deal with these cost of living pressures. That's a good outcome. We can do that without putting additional upward pressure on inflation.
Are you sorry for breaking an election promise?
I think we've come to a better outcome. And so what we're proposing today, people will be better off as a consequence.
Not everyone.
Of that.
There's more than 1 million people who are not going to be better off. So do you apologise to them?
Well, I'm glad you asked me about that, Pete, because all 13.6 million Australian taxpayers will get a tax cut. And for people on higher incomes, that tax cut will still be substantial. But there is a greater emphasis on Middle Australia in the tax package that we are proposing today. There's also new tax cuts for people on lower incomes and a change to the Medicare levy threshold, which will benefit people on low incomes as well. And so what we're doing here is we're taking the same amount of tax cuts broadly that were being provided in stage 3. We're still returning bracket creep. We're still providing tax cost of living relief via the tax system, but we're doing it in a better way. And I say this about the politics, Pete, of promises and not running away from the things that we have said previously. We're being upfront that we've come to a different view because it's a better way of doing it. That's the first thing. But secondly, we're putting people before politics here. You know, we are recognising that the best way to build trust is to take the right decisions for the right reasons in the interests of the people. Even when those decisions might be difficult or politically contentious. We know this is politically contentious, but it's the right thing to do, and that's what matters most.
You mentioned the word trust there, Treasurer. I mean, how can your government be trusted again now that faith has been breached in such a major way?
Well, again, because you build trust by doing the right thing by people. You build trust by taking the right decisions for the right reasons.
But then you've broken that trust. That's not how trust works.
Well, we understand that this will be politically contentious. You know, we understand that people will say, will point to the comments that we've made previously. We're not running away from those. We understand, and we're being upfront about the fact that we've come to a different position. And we're explaining why today. And the reason we've come to a different position is because we can provide more tax relief to more people dealing with these cost of living pressures.
Just out of curiosity, when did you ask Treasury to draw up the advice?
Over the course of Christmas, as the Prime Minister has said publicly, we sought some additional advice on dealing with these cost of living pressures that people are confronting. And over the course of recent weeks, he said publicly that we would be receiving that advice. What I'll be doing today, Pete, which I think is really important, is I'll be releasing the Treasury advice on these tax cuts. And what that Treasury advice will show is that this is better for the economy than the tax cuts that they replace.
So when you were saying, your government, they were saying there's going to be no change to the policy just last week, while there were changes to the policy being considered behind the scenes. I mean, that was being deliberately deceptive, was it not?
No, I don't think so, Pete. You know, the government's position changed on Tuesday when this went through the cabinet, and it was endorsed yesterday by the party room. We made it clear publicly that we were considering ways to help Middle Australia, additional ways to help Middle Australia with these cost of living pressures. The government's position didn't change until Tuesday when it went through the cabinet. And what we're doing now, having put it through the cabinet and the Expenditure Review Committee and the full ministry and now the party room as well, we are explaining to people, and the Prime Minister will do this later today at the National Press Club, why we've come to this different view. And we've come to this different view for the best possible reason, and that's providing more help for more people.
Okay. Treasurer Jim Chalmers, thanks for your time.